What were you bullied for? I was socially awkward. I also was greatly motivated to be liked. I did a lot of shit trying to be like that in hindsight, made me unliked. It's such a catch-22. People are drawn to charismatic confidence. Not too much, but just enough is the key. Even if you make a fool of yourself, if you can play it off confidently, then you'll be likable around the right group. It's hard to have confidence if you're not liked. So by trying to be liked without confidence, you actually give off an air of desperation. Desperation gives off a vibe that's noticeable from a mile away to anyone. Desperation just makes people uncomfortable, and that's when people tend to bully you over that shared discomfort. The bullying ruins any chance you have to be confident. The more you are bullied, the more likely you are to manifest a negative view of people around you, and the more likely you are to lash out at people. The bullied can become the bully very quickly, and the cycle starts again. It's truly a vicious cycle. Confidence is such a thing. Like the leader of my friend circle is just this really confident guy. He doesn't have any special skills, not over the top at studying, taller than me, but not too much, stronger than me, but again nothing too buff, like a better than normal kinda guy. But his confidence is huge, like huge, he can hype up the mildest thing, up to the point where everyone is laughing their ass off. Like he can be hype a simple game of rock paper scissors so much that no matter what happens in the game, it's gonna be hilarious. I wish I had that kind of confidence. I'm so shy that I would hesitate to show my artwork to someone I don't know for at least half a year. I'm the confident guy in my group. Phew, it's frequently the case that I like being central to the action, so it's easy to just be a hypebeast about stuff because people like being hyped for stuff. I'm confident in my normal life, but not crazy so, but I'm really confident with the people I know and love because there's no reason not to be if you're around good people. There is nothing wrong with being the quiet guy if that's who you are, every group has them, they're important. I'd bet money that if you spoke up, people would listen. The quiet guy's words are valuable, people want to get to know the quiet guy. In my opinion, people don't want to invade the quiet guy's space because they assume you're quiet because that's who you are unless you show them otherwise. The good way to build your confidence is to get some easy victories. If you draw, maybe do a drawing challenge for a month or something, and afterwards you'll see your progress and feel better about sharing your art. The gym is that confidence builder for a lot of guys. You'll also feel more confident from the sense of discipline native to any long-term task. Small wins can snowball into you sharing your art with your friends and moving from the quiet guy to the guy who draws good. Again, only if you want. You're perfect the way you are, I'm sure of it. Succeeding at something is the fastest way to confidence. The hard part is succeeding at something you desperately desire. Yep. Being a little girl with undiagnosed autism in the 90s was an adventure in social awkwardness. I learned how to interact with my peers by observing their interactions and then mimicking those behaviors in future interactions. Except I wasn't very good at figuring out which behavior belonged with which situation. So then my teachers would just say I was bringing the bullying on myself. Which I was. Now that I'm a teacher myself, I try to look out especially for those kids so ever don't have to go through quite as much of the same shitty learning curve. My mother was an animal hoarder, so even when I would my own laundry, I could never get the smell out to the point where I was dunking my clothes in bleach to try and clean them. I was also rather unwell, physically and mentally, and my mother lied, so I ended up with a worthless Irish punts and no accommodations. I was an asshole back then because I had no social interactions other than my stepfather with anger issues or my addict mother. I deserved the hate I got, and I make a point of not being in contact with people from my high school to spare them the misery of me. TLDR. Poor, gross, asshole. I'm still all those things, just self-aware now. Eczema which often affected my face. Same. I had to wear white cotton gloves to school, and one time a teacher threw away my art project because she didn't want me to infect the other kids. Damn, that's rough to experience no matter the age. It was rough, my mom complained enough that she got fired, but it didn't stop my classmates from acting like I was contagious for the rest of school. Honestly, when my doctor went to shake my hand after diagnosing my eczema, it hit me hard. I thought I was contagious. I was an adult. I can't imagine what you went through. I had the same experience when I diagnosed with dihydrotic eczema. My hands were fucked and I thought I had some sort of flesh-eating disease. The doctor shaking my hand really made a big difference. I was also an adult. Is this the same thing you were diagnosed with? People don't realize how badly eczema can affect mental health. Especially when you wake up in the middle of the night bleeding and furiously scratching in your sleep. The worst place for eczema for me? The back of the knee. The scratched open skin that sticks to itself with every step you take, so extremely painful. But you try to play it off anyway, cause you don't want people to notice. My pain tolerance grew so much because of eczema. My feet are where I get it the worst, right on top of them too, so when I have a flare-up everyone who sees my feet thinks that I have athlete's foot and will legitimately not believe me when I say it's eczema. I now have scars and calluses on top of them that are visible even when the eczema is gone. I was called a biscuit head because my head was shaped like a biscuit. The Brit in me needs to know what sort of biscuit. Dim tam. And in today's episode of Spot the Aussie, we have Beganknessbus chiming in with what can best be described as a delicious one-time use drinking straw. To this day, I really don't know. Something happened in the summer between 2nd and 3rd grade that made a bunch of people decide that they didn't like me anymore, including my best friend. I only had 2 friends left until my family moved away in the middle of 7th grade. Bullies would follow me home most days, and my mom finally had to verbally Super Saiyan a few parents down the street to get them to take it down a notch. I finally asked one of them what I ever did to them, and they said, "You were born." How do you even respond to that statement? I just got a sharp pang after seeing that phrase again. Wow, this happened to me in 7th grade. My whole group turned against me, led by fucking Karen Swartz. No friends, complete isolation for no reason other than they could. The trauma never left me. It took 3 years to find a few new friends. French Franks to my grandchild's preschool. Yep, her teacher was the now matronly unattractive Karen Swartz. She asked my son to have me come visit. I told him to say I didn't remember her. I'm certain she had no memory of her cruelty, and as sad as it might seem at my now advanced age, I hope life fucked her up. Being the small kid. Kind of the same girl with no boobs and late development. Always are you sure you're not a boy? Because also my parents kept my hair short as a girl. I never got the boy teasing, but I was incessantly teased once I grew boobs at 15-ish. I went from an AA to E within about 6 months, and people decided I must have gotten a boob job over the school holidays. Same timeline of development for me. Went from being called mosquito bites to Pamela Anderson SMH. I always hate it when people say violence is not the answer. They are so full of shit and have zero experience dealing with real bullies. Violence gets you results, fast. And once you get those results, you don't need violence anymore. Of course it isn't. Violence is the question and the answer is yes. My name? Maximus 12121 isn't a bad name. Not as funny as Biggest Dickus though. He has a wife you know. Her name's Incontinentia Buttocks. For being the quiet kid. My high school class added a new category to the yearbook, specifically to bully me. Quietest student. A teacher of mine once told everyone to say one nice thing about everyone, one nice quality. Mine was just I was shy, my best standout quality was I had no confidence, and everyone knew it. I was really shy in college, UK, so I was about 17, and I had a horrible woman teach us English language. She had a game near Christmas where we had to write a verb and an adverb on a piece of paper. They all went in a hat and we had to act them out for the class to guess what they were. I was already feeling really anxious about having to stand up and act something out and I ended up being last. The words I pulled out were comfort seductively. I didn't know what to do really, so I showed her them and she got the most popular guy in the class and sat him in a chair and said off you go. I told her I was really not comfortable doing it and would do another one instead and she refused and said nobody was leaving the room till I did it so everyone started shouting, telling me to just do it. So I stood next to him and patted his shoulder, trying not to cry, and I remember people shouting things like boobs. Boobs in face. Because I'm quite short and chesty and my chest was next to his head. It was so humiliating. Being poor and my mom smoked continuously so being poor and smelly. Kids are brutal. Edit. I just logged back on and this is humbling. For those that can relate I'm wishing you all the best for where you are now. We are a product of where we came from, but that doesn't define who we are today. For those that can't relate I'm so glad you had a different childhood and also hope you are doing well. And for those that find this is their moment to continue to bully I hope kindness finds you and helps you with whatever you need to have a brighter day. That is rough. I knew a girl whose mom chain smoked inside, so the girl always smelled like smoke. One day she tried using her dad's cologne and sprayed a bunch on herself, thinking it was the same as perfume. But she got made fun of even more for smelling like a guy. Back when I was going through school, my mom and stepdad smoked a lot inside the house, so I pretty much always smelled like cigarette smoke. One day near the beginning of either 10th or 11th grade, my class was all lined up and going to pick up the book necessary for our class that was being handed out by the vice principal. When I came up to grab mine, she stopped, looked at me, and said, "I know you be smoking cigarettes in the boys' room. I'm gonna catch you one of these days." Loud enough for the whole class to hear. I have never smoked a cigarette in my entire life. Smoking in the boys' room? Everybody knows that smoking isn't allowed in school. Being easy to walk over. I had a really hard time asserting myself so being too nice. But really, just very insecure. Yeah, same. I recall asking my group of friends, why am I always the one you make fun of? They said, because it's easy, you're too nice. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Thank you. As a black kid, in a predominantly black area. Wearing glasses and having braces. Being fat. Being nice. Being smart. Liking an anime. Wanting to be a pilot, influenced by the anime I like the most. But guess what? I'm a fucking pilot now. The sweetest revenge is achieving your dreams. Fellow black kid in a predominantly black area. Being smart. Being nice. Liking an anime at the time. Sounding acting white. Being quiet. My hair. Jokes about my weight even though I was very athletic growing up. Sometimes I had 2-a-day practices for soccer. And that's all from my family. My sister-in-law taught at a very poor, predominantly black school in rural Alabama. One kid in the school had dreams of getting out of there and going to Yale. He made it. But from her description, his high school years had to be the worst. They bullied him relentlessly for trying to be white, or thinking he was better than them, or being skinny, having glasses, etc. The kids she was talking about that were so cruel were coming from hard home lives, like not everyone had running water or electricity in their houses type of hard, but damn. I guess it was jealousy that he was trying to get out and they knew he had a shot. On the bright side, his dad was the principal, and instead of dropping the hammer on the kids for being assholes, he tried to improve everyone in the school's life. Made everyone wear uniforms that the school got a grant for, and then installed a laundry room in the school, so everyone could drop off their dirty uniforms once a week, along with other dirty clothes they had, and get them cleaned, so nobody had to come to school in dirty clothes. Set up a food pantry in the school that you could sign up for anonymously, like they would deliver the food to your house, instead of giving it to you at school, so you wouldn't get bullied for needing help. Got a few grants from different organizations to provide the kids with laptops and wireless data cards so they could do homework at home, where the majority of them didn't have internet, etc. Apparently by the time he was a senior, his dad had improved conditions for the rest of the kids enough they felt bad for being assholes and mostly stopped bullying him. I wish someone would have done that kind of thing for me when I was in school and being bullied for who the fuck knows what reason. I just kicked my bully in the crotch one day, and he got the message though, so my bad years were only until midway through 9th grade. Having red hair. Seriously. I was bullied by grown adults just as often as other kids for being a retard. Often, people would assume I was up to something or talking back being bratty, and I probably was, but adults always noticed me first and punished me more harshly than the other kids I thought. Always been confused on why the whole retard hate exists lol. Is there any historical context or something on why y'all are discriminated against? For all my school years, up until college. Sometimes I would find guys who had a thing for red hair and I felt like just fetish. Basically my whole identity was revolving around it, so I dyed it for more than a decade. Until I didn't gaff anymore. Glasses, red hair, and freckles. Opie, howdy doody, and red-headed stepchild jokes all the way through school. I was bullied from age 6 to age 13 every day for my surname, a word for a hunchback in my language, my looks, my nature, me knowing English, reading, drawing and just existing overall. I fucking hated middle school. My mom tried standing up for me, but no one cares in Slavic countries, and the teachers didn't give a shit even though they saw everything, it's all the part of growing up. My father ignored my constant tears and the terror I experienced in those years. I was attacked, beaten and targeted whenever I would leave my flat. I was stabbed with screwdrivers and dull knives, chased around the neighborhood by kids on bikes while they threw rocks at me. I was only invited to birthday parties so that the kids would have someone to terrorize and gang up on. I always hated days, but my mom though by the children would be kinder to me out of school. But that's that. Once I began high school I was around all new people and I decided to play as a tough girl and stood up for myself on the get-go. But it turns out art school mostly brought other bullied kids together and I had the 4 best years of my life there with other kind and loving people who just wanted to make friends and have fun. Having glasses. Fuck you classmates. You didn't see that coming, did you? Being shy and overweight. Being too quiet. No, I just don't want to talk to you assholes. I was initially bullied for having speech impediments and having to go to the speech pathologist once a week during class. That later evolved into me getting bullied for being too quiet and never talking to anyone. Same with me. Bullied for stuttering and then became the quiet person. And for some reason people had a problem with that too. Hello quiet guy here. Yup. You're quiet, you're not popular. You're not popular, you're going to have a bad time. For me I can't think of quick responses right away which leads me to being quiet. It's difficult for me to keep a conversation going, it's always been one of my worst anxieties talking to people. This has caused me to not have any friends, let alone romantic relationships, until I was older and developed sort of quick responses I memorized, but this was after years of overhearing and learning from others' conversations. Having a big nose. Funny thing is, as an adult I told people that I was bullied for my big nose, and I get you don't even have a big nose. So confusing. I didn't know it at the time, but for being autistic. Apparently people tried to bully me in school, but I was so oblivious that I didn't even notice, lol. I have a friend like that. He wouldn't notice people's tones and took what they said literally. He only knew he was being bullied when it was extremely direct. He was the 1% outcast weirdo with me XD.